Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I'm going to start out the show a little different today. I want to start a little thing that I'm going to just call shout out. And what it is that I'm going to give a shout out to a local business or a small business that I think, deserves a little bit of recognition. In these times, it is good to be supporting our local business and spending our money at these local businesses and keeping the money in our communities and within our country and really showing our appreciation for people who are passionate and put the extra effort into running and operating a business to serve others. So if you guys want to, you can nominate a person who owns a business, owns and operates, any small business anywhere here in Canada. I'm willing to give a shout out to anybody who's an owner operator and help them out in these times, or just show some appreciation, whether they're doing good or bad or whatever their circumstances are due to the COVID. I believe in supporting these small businesses. So I'm going to start out with my very first shout out, and I'm going to shout out to Kicking Horse Automotive in Duncan here in the Cowichan Valley. My friend Jerry, he owns and operates Kicking Horse Automotive. And what I love about Jerry's operation is that it's all him. And it's got that old school feeling, like when you go in there, you know you're talking to the guy who's working on your vehicle. You know you're talking directly to the mechanic. There's no in between. He's the guy that's going to be working on your car. He's the guy that answers the phones. He's the guy that does the paperwork. He does it all himself. And you can tell by talking to him that he's experienced and passionate, and he's doing everything he can to help everybody in the situations that they're in. He's a good-hearted person. He's a recently retired from being a school district employee. He was a custodian at the school district and put in many hours and a few years cleaning up after the children and in the public school system, and he loved it and was very good and detailed in it and took it very, very seriously, just like he takes his automotive business very, very seriously. So shout out to Jerry at Kicking Horse Automotive. I love you, man. I only ever take my vehicle to you because I go there with confidence and I leave there with confidence, and I always feel better about my situation after I know that you've worked on my vehicle. So thank you very much. Anybody want to check out Jerry's webpage, I'll leave a link in the description, or I'll share it here on the page if you're watching it on YouTube. I'll share it on the screen. And if you know somebody who owns a business and deserves a little shout out, or you want to let them know that you appreciate them, you can email me at dirksdiariespodcast gmail.com. dirksdiariespodcast@gmail.com. I'll leave a little thing on the screen if you're watching, and I'll leave it down in the show notes for you guys, and you can email me a written shout out, or even send a video, and I'll upload the video and the audio. And let's help these people, because they're working hard, and during these hard COVID times, big box companies really didn't take much of a hit, but the little guys did, due to the rules and stuff that were put in place, even though that they've received some subsidies and stuff. Really, it's been a real struggle, and those are the businesses we want to keep open. Those are the people we want to keep supporting, and those are the people that are your neighbors, your friends, your family, and so they deserve this. Okay, guys, and now we'll just jump into our show. Thanks. Okay, guys, so thanks for listening to the first part of the show. Shout outs. Let's do that. Let's make that happen. Other than that, I wanted to have Dustin here and to be on a regular schedule with him, but he's actually in his ear. I guess there's like little fibers or hairs or crystals. Apparently, some of those in his ear have broken and they fall, and you got to do like these weird head tilts and stuff to try and get them in place or get them unlodged or whatever. But what happens is that when they're stuck or shifted or whatever, they get very bad vertigo. He can't even drive. He can't even go to work. it makes him like real sick, I guess. I've never had that happen. I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently it is. So Dustin is not with us today. He's at home being miserable. He's got to get chauffeured around, and hopefully he recovers from that soon. Man, motion sickness really sucks. I've been motion sick a good few times, and it is terrible. You know, I don't really get motion sick on ferries. I imagine, like, if I was on a train, though, I would get motion sick. I never got air sick. I've only been on a plane one time going to Mexico, and I didn't get sick, but I sat right next to the window, and I liked it because I could see the curvature of the wing and all the mechanics of it. And, you know, those wings, they move a lot with that wind pressure and air pressure up there, so that kept my mind kind of stimulated. Planes suck, though. That was only a 4-hour flight from where I am, and I hated every moment of it. I'm not a traveler. I'm not into it. Like, I always had ambitions and stuff to travel. I did do a about a 39-day motorcycle travel through British Columbia, where I live. I went all over on the back of my Harley, just me solo with my bedroll, and took some cool drives and saw some cool places, and just did it on a whim. And it was nice doing it solo. Like, there was a magical time, really. Like, that's kind of cheesy to say, but I really experienced things by myself when I did that. And I went places, and I saw things that I still talk about today. Like, I was coming up northern BC. Here's a little story for you. I was coming up northern BC, kind of where the Skeena River, I believe it is, the big one that was up northern, kind of between Rupert and Terrace, and there's the Alaskan highway in between there. Somewhere around there, I can't really remember. It was a few years ago. But I came around the bend on my bike. So just so people who have never ridden a Harley or ridden a bike before, you put pressure on, you don't turn your wheel. You put some pressure and your bike will turn. So I'm in the middle of the turn, and as I come around the bank of the turn there's a bit of a cliff hangover the road and some water running down the rocks. Really, you know, some greenery, and there's some train tracks on the opposite side of me. On the right side, the train tracks. The left side, the cliffs. I'm turning left, and the train tracks follow the road. The road follows the cliff face, and as I get around, there's a deer that had been hit by a car in the middle of the road, and there were these huge wolves on the carcass. And at that time, I think that there was 3 right on the carcass. And when I came around the corner, I was only about 15 feet away from them, and they took up the whole road with the body of the deer and the 3 wolves kind of spread up. The whole road was covered all the way into the other lane. There's no other traffic around, and I'm so fixated on these other wolves. I'm on my bike. It's just a little Sportster 883. It's not a huge bike, and I've got it loaded with gear, and you know, you just seeing the wolves. They're kind of face down, chewing on this, and they're looking up at you with their eyes, like their heads tilted down, their eyes are tilted up at you to see what you're doing. And I didn't realize, it took me a moment. I was kind of just taken off guard, and at this time I didn't have like a camera or even a cell phone with a camera to take a photo or anything to document this experience. So it's just my own experience, and you guys will just have to take my word for it that it happened, I guess. So the 3 wolves are there, and then I'm like, well, what do I do? They're in the lanes, and they seem, you know, a little weary that I'm here or whatever. And then I see something move out of my periffs over by the train tracks. And I look around, and there was like, I don't know, maybe 10 or more. I couldn't really count. I would say on the low side, 10 wolves walking around the whole area. They went all the way back, I'd say 50 yards or so in between me and the other wolves on the carcass, a whole bunch of them. So just kind of moving around. So I wasn't really sure what to do, but I just kind of revved my motorcycle and dropped gear and went around him into the other lane. And as I went around, like, I had to get really close, and the wolf moved like a little bit to the other side of the carcass as I came around with my engine, but it didn't run off like I thought they would run off. They kind of all just shuffled, and I moved past them, and, you know, that all happened within like 3 minutes tops, that whole experience. And but it's really imprinted in my brain what an experience. I really love that moment in my life. And it's one I won't forget, and I'll have to share with my kids, and I'm sharing with you guys. And whether you believe that happened or not is on you. I love it. I'll never forget that moment. But that's kind of like, other than that, that's the only real traveling I've done next to moving, and that's really kind of all I'm interested into. Me and Sam, my wife, keep talking about going to Japan. We would have loved to go to Japan one day, but I cannot imagine the flight there. I think it's like 13 hours, and Sam does not do good on flights. She had encephalitis, which is, I guess, the swelling of the brain when she was a child, and so she suffers some sensitive brain issues. Like, she gets headaches quite a bit. Flight throws her off. I'm sure the ferry throws her off. I imagine, I've never had to do it, that it's really hard on her to travel, but she still plans on making the trip to Japan one day. So we'll see how that goes. I don't have encephalitis, so I don't have to deal with that, but I would have to assist her, and if she's being sick or has migraines, I don't know what we'll do to counter that. But 13-hour flights, and I think there's a couple layovers, and that just doesn't sound appealing to me. I would rather boat over there or whatever, but boats are like really bad ferries and stuff like that, or cruise ships are bad for the ocean. I mean, I guess everything's bad for the ocean, but I don't agree with them. They don't appeal to me. So traveling to Japan, the travel part is going to be difficult. So we'll see what happens in the future if we plan for that. Maybe when the kids are older. And then that's another thing, like, at what point do we go? At what age are our kids going to go? Are we going to bring them with us? Because that's a whole different ball game. She also wants to go to Florida to go to Disney World, and I have no interest in going to Disney World, but I wouldn't mind Florida. There's lots of things down there I wouldn't mind doing: fishing, the beaches, even into the swamps or Everglades or whatever they have there, and maybe do some. I think you can hunt the snakes there. The snakes are out of control, and maybe see some crocodiles, stuff like that. I'm more interested in. I don't really have an interest in Disney World, waiting in lines to go on rides. And she's been with her family, and she's had good experience. She loves that stuff. So maybe one day, but not my ideal trip. I would rather go to Japan and take the 13-hour flight than go to Disney World. But the Disney World is obviously for your kids. That's a big gift. I hear about how expensive that can be, and I'm not really that invested. Sorry, Sam, I know you are. We'll have to figure that out as time goes on. So on other notes, Dustin, he didn't make it. Last time he left here, he had his old truck that he brought to show me, and we talked about it in that episode. And then so he left here, and when he left, a few minutes later, I had gotten a phone call saying that it had died and they needed help. I get in my car, I drive down. They're just past the highway, so my road here, it's kind of a dead end road, but kind of not. And then you go out towards the highway, and they had just made it across the highway, which is, the highway is about a 10-minute drive. So they only make it about 10 minutes down the road, 10. And they sit and they have to figure out the car, and then they give me a call saying they need help. So I bring my jumper cables. And what I didn't know is that, I knew the truck had been sitting. I knew that it had been sitting for a few years. What I didn't know is that the battery had also been sitting. So the battery was completely dead in this vehicle. And what happened is that we decided that the game plan was that we would drive it back to our place, my place, because it was closer. So we would have to put jumper cables on it, get it some juice in the battery, drive it till the battery died again, which happened very quickly. So we would sit for 5 minutes. You'd get 4 minutes of drive time or 5 minutes of drive time. You'd get as much juice out of it as you put in, but then it would completely die again. So we jumped it like 4 or 5 times to get it back up the 10-minute road to get here. It took us like an hour. And we're coming back up, and there's an area where we come through 2 cornfields, and then it goes up a hill, and you kind of bank left, right a little bit, and then it flattens out at the top there. And we're on the hill, and it's at this time it's like midnight. It's like 11:40 to midnight-ish, and a lady comes out all like gnarly wicked witch. What are you guys doing? Oh, my brother's car is broken down. I'm giving him a jump. That's not what it looks like you're doing. Well, what's it look like we're doing? I got my car bumped up to him. I've got the cables hooked up. I don't know what it could be. Why are you shining lights into my field? Nobody's shining lights into your field. All I've got is a cell phone light. That's it. Nobody's shining any lights anywhere. You guys better not be pit lamping. I think that's what it's called, where you use a flashlight to see the deer at nighttime and you hunt them. And I'm like, do you want to come over here and see? Why, like, quit talking to me about it. Come on out here if you're going to be shining a flashlight around and making judgment calls and being snowy. Like, come see what is actually going on. She never came, and I wish that I was real angry for a long time. I was like, fuck that chick. Like, jeepers, are you serious? Like, we're trying to just solve our own problems here. We don't need to deal with a haggard lady coming out here, okay? Like, tone it down and get back inside. Or come and help, like one or the other. This is how the approach should be. Everybody okay out there? Oh, yeah, just jump in a car. Are you sure? Yep. We saw some lights. You sure you guys are okay? Yep, everything's fine. And then just keep an eye on if you really think we're doing anything illegal. You don't come out like, what if I was doing something illegal and you came out teeth baring and stuff like that? It was a terrible approach, and I was really angry after. But gotta let it go. Like, that's, how she responds to things like that is got more to do with her than it does me. Anyways, we get the car back to our place, like, a few more jumps after that. We leave the car there. He gets a new battery for it a couple days later, and it runs fine now. Like, so the battery was completely completed out of that truck that we talked about. So that was a funny little side story that I was hoping Dustin would get to tell and share his experience with it, but he couldn't make it out. And then so to keep going with what kind of like a little catch up of some of the other things we touched base in, that I went to the airsoft game. What a blast. I had a great time. We showed up, and then there was an airsoft crew that had shown up there that day too. So there was like 60 people. So it was 30 versus 30. There were defenders and attackers of the teams, and so we decided to be attackers. Other people decided to be defenders, and we had missions to do. So there were 3 keys and 3 bunkers, and then there was a final bunker where we needed to have all 3 keys to unlock this lockbox and release a smoke grenade. We pull the grenade, it releases an orange smoke, we win the battle. So we start the mission. We have to get through the first bunker, which is really close, but we just seem to not be able to get through the wall. They have these buildings, and they're bunking. They're getting us before we can get close, and so I belly crawl with my sniper rifle in hand, and I crawl out there, and I find the building. I get up to the door somehow without being seen or shot. Now, they have a pew-pew rule where if you're close enough with your handgun, you just say pew-pew and you get them, because to be shot at close range is quite painful, even with your gear on. And there's I think it's a 12-foot, maybe a 9-foot or a 5-foot limit before you can shoot someone. So you have to have that certain amount of distance and to be able to shoot somebody. So I rest my sniper down, knowing that I was too close to engage with them with that. I have a little pistol. It wasn't even loaded or ready to shoot. It's strictly for this pew-pew rule. So I sneak in all stealthy. I can see the guy, and he comes in around the corner, and I go pew-pew, and I whisper it real quietly, pew-pew, because I know that there's another guy in there, and he puts his hands up, and I just kind of am cautious around the corner to make sure he puts his hands up, because they say that if they do decide to go for their gun, you can shoot them. They don't have to take the pew-pew. Most people do, because it hurts. So I was just being cautious of that guy, and then, that guy was on my left, so as I walk down the hall, I bank left, make sure his arms are up, and then I turn around, and I tap the other guy in the back, and I go pew pew. So I took the first bunker without really doing any firing, and then working with my sniper rifle was fun. I think I hit a couple of people long distance. There was lots of crouching and hiding and stuff, and I really enjoyed it. and we got through some levels, and I didn't end up completing the game, but we didn't end up winning, I don't think. I think shortly after I had my last death. So what happens too with deaths? At the first stage, the first set of keys, you have unlimited respawns. And then after that, you have 5. You get your first set of keys, and you have 5 respawns, and then you have 3 respawns, and then you get the last set of keys, and you're on your way to the bunker. You only have 1 respawn. So everyone after that is a one-shot deal. So that's why I was taking out the sneaky guy. Like, I thought I was being sneaky. I was trying to get this guy in the bunker at the top of the hill. It's called Hamburger Hill. It's got a bunker, and that's where we win. So I'm trying to get this guy. I have him in my scope, but I'm not experienced, and I think he's too far. I can't quite hit him, so I'm trying to crawl closer. And there's a bit of a rounded hill on to my left, and the guy in the bunker keeps moving from right of the bunker to the left of the bunker. In the right, I can see him. In the left, he goes out of sight. So what I gotta do is find a situated spot. He's spending more time on the left side, so I decide to move over there. Little did I know there was a guy. He was hiding out on the back of a tree had fallen down, and the root ball was up and hanging down and all gnarly, and he had rested up against that, and he was really hard to see. Now, I had been warned before that there was a guy there, but I thought that I was down low enough and protected by the bush enough, but as soon as I kind of humped up to the left, he saw me and lit me up, and that was I didn't even see him. I kind of perked up, and he gave me a little wave. I was like, oh, you sneaky devil, but for my first airsoft game, I think it was a very big success. I've actually got myself a leaf suit now, and I've ordered 1,000 extra leaves to put onto it, and I'm going to be working over that for the next couple weeks to go to the next game. I'm also working on dialing in my shooting with my rifle. I am sort of struggling with it. There's a lot to learn with stuff called hop up and the way the BB flies, and I think that maybe my rifle is shooting a little low in power, so it's spring. My rifle it has a spring, so when I pull back on the spring, it feels real tight, but when it fires, it still goes a good distance, but I don't think it's going where. I've just got some practicing to do with it. I'm not really sure how it's supposed to operate. I'd like to get together with someone who's a little more experienced with these rifles and give me some pointers, but for my first airsoft game, super success. I'm going to continue to go and grow into this little sport. I really loved it. And then another thing to touch base. So on that same episode, we had the chicken in here. She's now healed up enough to be back with her fellow ladies. So that's where she is. She's back in there. There's a bit of a introducing thing, so I kind of just put her in there. The animals in general are real mean to each other. So there was a little bit of pecking order to be figured out, and then now things are back to normal. On the downside to that, Duke the dog did get a chicken. He killed one of the chickens, which is confirming that he did kill this chicken. It looks like the chickens have been reaching their head out of the pen to get at some bugs and stuff, and he's grabbing them and he's pulling them through the pen, which is tight, and that is killing them. He's not shaking them around or anything like that. He's not even really sinking his teeth into their neck or anything. He's just getting a hold of them enough to pull them through the tight space, and that pulling through the tight space had killed the birds. So I lost one bird to that. He's only done it to that one. We lost it. It hasn't happened again. I disciplined him. I'm working on training with him with that, and it's starting to be a little successful. I'm going to reinforce with smaller chicken wire along the current fence so the birds aren't putting their head out. And not only that, but I'm isolating Duke to his pen more than I am the field. So same with the goats. I'm no longer giving the goats access to the back pasture. I found that giving them access and the chickens access to the full back pasture really pushed me and my kids out of that space and kind of left it to them. And they have a big pen, so I don't know. They didn't really need all that space, and they weren't really keeping the grass down. I would need a whole bunch now that I've come to know, see how they operate, and they're more interested in the trees and the branches and the twigs. So they're going to stay in their pasture. Duke has a pen. I do let him out when we're out there. He runs around. It's a big pen. And then I put him in the pen whenever we go inside. And I'm going to extend it. There's a fenced coop area that used to be part of the old chicken coop before I restored the part that the chickens are in now that is dilapidated, so I can put some new posts in and lift the wire up in that, and then I will give Duke a new door to go into that field, so he can go into the one pen, go into his hut, and go out into the other pen, which is 3 times the size of his pen that he has now, which is already a decent size pen. So unfortunately, yes, Duke did get the chicken. It makes me believe that he got the first one as well. And then that leads me into the fact that I went into the pen and I found another chicken dead. Chickens, lots can happen with them, as I'm seeing online and I'm learning. Lots of things can get to them. This one looks like it probably was heat stroked. The goats had locked the door in on the chicken, and the chickens, if they don't have good ventilation and it's been hot, they can overheat and die. And I think that's what has happened to that chicken. So that's unfortunate. It's really sad and tough, but these birds are so sensitive to things. A cold breeze kills them. So, and then I have to explain to my kids what's going on. My daughter saw me going into the forest with the first bird. She snuck out of bed and went upstairs and saw me, and I took the bird into the woods to give the other animals access to it. And she saw, so I had to explain to her, and she was understanding. She got it because I've talked hunting with her her whole life, so she kind of has understood what that process looks like between, like, the circle of life. The Lion King has it right. There's a place for all of us, and there's a circle, and everything goes back to the earth, and she understands that. So she wasn't too hard done by. I haven't really kept that stuff from my children. I haven't forced it on them, but I explain it appropriately, and I think that they all understand how life and what happens to the body and how animals get meat and so they have a pretty good understanding. And then speaking of all that, we're moving into hunting season. This late August will be archery only season, and I won't have to be at work this year. August I have off the whole month. Normally I have to go back at the last week of August, which is when archery season opens. This year I will not. So I'm pretty sure the last week of August is when archery season opens again. This year I'm going to have to double check my stats, but I am not quite prepared. So I haven't really been keeping up with my shooting. Normally this time of year I am dialed in and I'm ready for a hunt, but I'm not this year. So the month of August I've got to shoot twice a day, morning and night. Get out there and shoot, dial it in. Make sure my pins are on point and that I'm prepared to go out, because I hunt with bow only. I don't have my pal. It's a bow only situation for me because of my the way I learn and stuff. I'm actually scared to go get my pal. I'm scared to invest the time and the money just to fail. That's something I need to work on. I do want to get my pal to do some rifle hunting, but I'm not prepared for that right now, and I'll work towards that in the future. So it's bows for me, and I have been slacking, so I got to get on it. I don't even have my tags right now. I normally get 2 blacktail Vancouver Island tags and 2 black bear tags, and this year I'm only going to get 1 of each because I haven't filled a single tag. I haven't. I got really close on filling a nice black bear. He was big. The guy I was with was from up north, and he even said that was the biggest black bear he's ever seen. We started out about 70 yards, and I started to close it. The bear was in front of me, but facing me, so I couldn't shoot from that angle. We were hoping he would turn and bank so that I would get a broadside shot, but he ended up, I guess he must have winded us. I thought the wind was blowing the other direction, and I was being pretty stealthy, but it was on a old logging road, so I could have kicked a rock or whatever. He got wind of us somehow, and he didn't even turn. He just he lifts his head and huffs and runs off. But I was close. I was 40 yards. I could have shot him and taken him home if he had just got to bank to his side, but he didn't. So that didn't work out. That was my closest experience. My other experiences, with deer, me and my brother Dustin one morning did come across some bucks. We were really close, but we bumped them and they were gone. And then after that, I could not find them again. And that was the only time that I saw deer, but I found some deadheads and stuff, and that's worth it for me. I like the experience of being out in the woods and everything, and shooting my bow for practice, and being in that mindset, and then being able to go off trail into the woods and stuff. That stuff I love. But I'm hoping, to put a little extra effort in this year. But with the new baby, it might even be less time to go. So it's hard to say exactly what I'm going to be doing for hunting season this year. I should have just buckled down. It's unfortunate, and it's unfortunate with that bear. It was so nice. It was so big. I would have loved for that to be my first bear, but that's how those things go. It's not easy by any means to even do it with. It's not easy to do it with a rifle. The animals aren't easy to really find, and it's very normal, I guess. I don't know. I get frustrated when I talk about it. You could probably tell by the sound of my voice. Let's move on. Okay, so what's next on my docket here? So for August, because I have it off, I had this old set of clubs that me and my brother have kind of sold back and forth to each other. They've only been used for a handful of times, but my father-in-law plays golf all the time, and my son seems very interested in golf. My son, so he's just turned 2, and I want to promote activities like golf or sports or whatever in their life, but I don't know any of these sports, and I don't know the skills, so he's interested in golf, I can see right now. So I've got my golf clubs back from my brother, and I'm going to hook up with my father-in-law sometime in the month of August and go to the driving range and actually try and learn some skills of golf and understand the game. I don't really get it. He's explained it to me a few times, but I'll really put the effort in to learn so that when my son, I can keep playing with him, and then as he gets older, if he seems to still be interested, I will have some knowledge. If he diverts to another sport, I will probably, depending on how much I like golf, I'll probably continue golfing myself, but I will also dive into whatever that is. So we've been working on some baseball here. We've just been hitting the ball off of a little, what are those things? It's a little stand you put the ball on. T-ball, is that what it's called? Anyways, we've been doing that, so I'm excited to indulge in sports. I wish I did more sports growing up. I really didn't invest myself in that stuff, and I should have. I should have seen the opportunities before me when it came to that stuff, but I didn't, and now I'm kind of behind on my skill levels for my kids. So I'm gonna try and learn those things and get on top of it so that I can do those with my children. I think it's very important that if my kid is interested in hockey, that I participate in hockey. If my daughter's interested in soccer, that I participate in soccer. I've gone to dance class with my kids, and I've helped out with dance shows, and I believe it is important to get behind your kids and be involved, not just say, good, I'm glad you're doing it, and let them go do it, go to the games that you can go to, and know about the sport so that you can participate. Maybe I'll coach a team. I'm not sure about that one quite yet, but just to do a little extra for my kids is the plan, and promote them. I mean, I would love it if they did a mixed martial art of some type, but that stuff's not up to me. But yeah, so just supporting them in any fielded activity. It is important, whether it's a musical instrument, a band, if they like kayaking, if they love whatever, sports, hockey, anything that keeps them physically active and that they're going to be driven to do, anything that they have drive to do, support them in that, help them find something to be driven to do. I was driven to do nothing growing up, and here I am with very limited skills. The only skills I have are skills that I've picked up in the workplace. So I only have laborish skills, and I wish that I had life skills and had skills in to pursue maybe a career that I would have preferred rather than being a laborer. So I'm hoping that if I do that, it will help my kids become whatever it is they want to do as an adult, and I hope I can be a big support for that. But there's lots of time to see what is going to happen and where these kids are going to go. It's a little unnerving and a little exciting at the same time. Anyways, that's a little wrap up, a little catch up, a little on what happened with Dustin and after that night with his truck and the chicken and airsoft. I'm going to be talking more about airsoft. I'm going to try and see if there's a buddy that comes on with airsoft. Also, I'm going to have another person come on, my brother-in-law, who started Company of the Blue Dragon, the local Boohurt team. If you follow the podcast, you'll know that I uploaded a podcast about Boohurt, which is medieval fighting, medieval combat, live heavy metal stuff. Lucas is going to come on and talk a little bit more about what that is and his team that he's putting together here out of the Cowichan Valley. Okay, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.